please welcome to the stage Andrew Hryniewicz. And his talk is entitled How to Think Like Steve Jobs, Create Like Picasso, and Change the World.
So, I saw an Instagram the other day that had me kind of laughing at myself because it went, I don't have ducks and they're not in a row. I have squirrels and they're at a rave. Anybody relate to a mind that works like that? Okay. So show of hands, who here needs or wants to be a better, wiser decision maker? Solve problems, be more creative? Understand people and situations better? Okay, well, you're in the right place because that's what my talk is about. It's based on my work as an architect who became a psychotherapist and then a shaman. And in the last 10 years, I've trained about 165 executives and professionals how to unlock the sub and superconscious mind to do those sorts of things. So how many of you have ever had an aha moment? When those answers, yeah, it's pretty useful when it happens. But the question is, where do they come from? I mean, they come from in here, but what is in here? The thing is, your mind and your nervous system together are the most sophisticated, complex decision-making, information processing system in the universe. To give you an idea of how much is going on, your brain does a quadrillion calculations a second, which is a 10 with 15 zeros. What that means is, if you were to take what your brain does in a second, give it to the biggest supercomputer in the world, it would take it 40 minutes to do what you do in a second. So that's where those ideas come from, those insights, those gifts. Who thinks intuition is a thing? Yeah, well, you know, if we look at a lot of the really successful and famous people in our culture, a lot of them will say, it's because of my intuition, my gut feeling, my instincts. And two very famous people, George Soros and Warren Buffett, some of the richest men in the world, are famous for using intuition. Warren Buffett, even when he was getting started, could look at the financials of a company and in an instant knew exactly what that stock was worth, whether it was worth buying or not. George Soros is famous for having lower back pain when it's time to get out of markets. So can you imagine what it would be like to have that kind of a signal in your life for the major decisions, the major directions? Anybody like that? The thing is, that's what I call passive intuition. It's great if you have it. It's great if it's sending you signals. It's great if you're listening. And it's great if you can trust it. But that is a little bit of a kind of a haphazard process. What I'm talking about is what I call active intuition, real AI. Learning how to have aha moments on command when you need them. And so that's where we get think like Steve Jobs. I mean, I worked with a client a couple of years ago, Ali, young woman, about 35, MBA from one of the top schools in the world. She came to me initially because she'd been bullied and harassed out of her first job, or previous job, had a little bit of knock in her confidence, wanted some help getting back, you know, on the horse. She was hired to take over this forecasting unit for a big multinational. And the job was, there was this spreadsheet model. It had been 2 years in the development. It was supposed to take data from 36 countries, spit out answers. The big guys are flying in from New York on Thursday, and the thing's spitting out garbage. The CEO of the London office, her team, and she have been pulling all-nighters for 2 months, and 2 weeks, and they're just at their wits' end. So she calls me up Sunday morning and say, help! And so she goes into the conference room, and she goes into the technique that I've taught her, and she's having this kind of vision. And in her vision, she's flying over this burnt-out, logged-out rainforest that kind of represents the project. And then she's taken over to the corner and says, you know, go study that tree, that set of trees, that grove. And as she looks down at the pattern, she realizes that she's being shown where the linkages in the model are broken. She says, oh, I get it. So she flies back, comes into the room, goes off, calls me about 3:30 and says, it's working. We need to clean it up, but it's fixed. And she continued to use that process to rescue one stuck team, one dead-in-the-water project, one issue after another. So much so that about 2.5 years ago, one of the big guns in New York actually created a position on his team and said, come on over, I want you. Now that little meditation took her 12 minutes. So imagine what your life would be like if you could break the back of a hairy-ass problem in 12 minutes. Would that be useful? So, which also raises the question, what's a genius? We think of geniuses as these incredibly gifted and talented and lucky people who've been sort of touched by the gods with a gift. But that's not where the word comes from. The Greeks and the Romans, genius was the spirit of the work coming through the person. And when I studied architecture, they were always banging on about genius loci, the spirit of the place. And the thing is, genius is a skill. It's an ability to open yourself to that inspiration and let it flow and learn how to harness it. And that leads me to create like Picasso with CJ. He also came to me about 5 years ago. So CJ was a singer-songwriter, part of a band, record producer of his own little, production company, and an artist. And his band was on the verge of going on tour and releasing their first record. And he was really kind of freaked out. He came to me because he was having problems with stress, anxiety, lack of creativity, and then a huge amount of drug and alcohol use to try to manage it. We cracked the back of the drug and alcohol abuse, but more importantly, he was able to learn how to work with his muses as an inspiration, and the painting started coming and flowing really easily. He wrote 3 additional songs for the album because everybody felt it's not quite there, which were the best songs on the album. His dating life got better, and a whole bunch of other things happened. So both he and Ali are sort of examples of the kind of people I work with where in a matter of, once they learn these methods, 10, 15, 20 minutes, they can have these kind of inspiration sessions where they get ahas on demand. Now some of you already do something like this, so you know what I'm talking about. And some of you think I'm a whack job, which is fine. Because this is not faith, this is not religion. These are very concrete methods, techniques, and skills that you can learn, practice, and test for yourself. But something I want to remind you is that a leader is by definition someone who sees farther, sees better, and sees differently than the people they want to lead. And when you learn these skills, you will have that capacity. You will be able to see farther, see better, and see deeper. So if you're interested in learning how you could use these methods for your life, for your company, for your research team, to change the world, come talk to me.